Yeah, so today I was inspired for us to have a conversation on sleep. And I think that sleep is one of the most important factors if you want to be productive, because without quality sleep, you cannot really perform, right?
Absolutely.
And and I just have a few points, like 6 points or something, to make like why sleep is so important. And
Mm.
after I sort of create a foundation of the importance of sleep for those who either don't know it or don't realize it yet, and those who do, so they can get a little bit um, stimulated to get back into better quality sleep. I just have some notes on the importance of sleep.
Yes.
So first one, so first one is that sleep enhances cognitive performance.
Yes.
So I've done a lot of studying of sleep itself, and what I found out that most of the studies, most of the research points that quality sleep improves focus, decision making, learning, and memory. It also helps with emotional regulation, leading to a better mood and emotional stability, and it can significantly boost cognitive performance and productivity. So that's sort of the first thing which I think we should all strive for that sleep enhances cognitive performance, and that is of paramount importance if we want to be efficient. Now, the second thing is sleep and emotional health itself. And what I found out is that deep sleep stages in general aid in emotional processing, contributing to the emotional health. And it's also crucial for maintaining the overall happiness and well being. And while you're asleep, you also sort of regain energy to then have a better ability to manage stress. And of course, as we know, stress is a big influence on our overall emotional health.
Yes.
Then something that you will easily agree on is quality over quantity, because
Yes.
it doesn't matter. Yeah, because it doesn't matter if you sleep for 10 hours, if it's a shit quality sleep,
Yeah.
4 hours of good quality sleep is better than 10 hours of poor quality sleep. Most of it comes from the different stages of sleep. And yeah, good hygiene or good sleep hygiene practices can significantly improve sleep quality. And
Mm.
that's something that we are going to discuss today about the environment, routines, and everything, how to prepare for bed.
Yes.
Of course, sleep obviously is linked to improved physical health because body, when you're asleep, rejuvenates. It has time to focus on the internal processes rather than expanding energy. It's restoring it and just doing the things that it cannot do while you're active and awake. And of course, the aging part is that those people who don't get enough sleep actually age faster.
Yes.
And the last 2 points I have is that we have to also address sleep disorders and understand them.
Mm.
And then, of course, the last one is that we can also incorporate power naps during the day, and we have to understand our own circadian rhythms.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I think that that would cover the importance of sleep. So now we can get into everything that we have to discuss for today.
Nice. Awesome. So what I wanted to get into a little in the start is, well, what is sleep and what does it do? So I want you to give me like the your idea of sleep and what it does and what the process of sleep in the night does for your brain and does for your energy and does for your storages of energy and also physique, muscle building, soreness. Give me what you know and what you think, and then I'll give my behind it after.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I'm not gonna go too long onto this. I'm gonna let you contribute more on this part because I feel like you wouldn't ask this question if you wouldn't have something special prepared for us. But yeah, so I'm just gonna say three things that I think are the biggest part, and the first one is overall health and well-being contributor, right? So adequate sleep is essential for overall health, like I discussed, impacting mood, cognitive function, and physical health.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it reduces risks of chronic illnesses, which is something that I was very interested in because I don't know if I have told you about it or not, but I had problems with epilepsy and seizures when I was younger.
Mm, you haven't. Yep.
Did I tell you about it?
Never. Not yet.
Oh, okay. So a huge reason for the existence of anomaly incubator itself and all of that is me realizing that Western medicine is absolute garbage,
Yes.
and I had to seek answers in number one, personalized journey. So just trying things out, which biohacking is exactly that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, as you know, biohacking is something which is personalized because we are all different, and you're trying to optimize things for yourself.
Yes.
uh, just like we were going to talk about the sleep today, is something that there is a universal formula, which means that there are certain things that are the same for everyone, but then you have to figure out what are the things that work better for you, whether you want to sleep 2 times a day in like equal size proportions, or whether you want to do like just once, or do you want to do naps or you don't want to do naps, and all of that, right? Because
Yes.
if you go back into some of the greatest minds, like let's say Nikola Tesla and people like that, they had I don't know who exactly was that, but I remember reading about someone who did um, like every 2 hours or something like that, they went and they did like a 20-minute nap, and they never had a prolonged sleep. They just did 20 minutes or an hour or something. Like they constantly had little naps, but
Mm-hmm.
never really went and did a full 8 hour or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a little bit off topic. But basically, again, so health and well-being is a big thing. Then it is a restorative process of
Yes.
itself. That is why I really focus on it, because you can imagine it sort of in a way where we do or we use meditation and things like that to restore our mental abilities, because we allow our brain and processes to order.
Mm-hmm.
And sleep is something where you actually completely disattach from the physical and allow itself to do what has to be done. And that's the thing that I discussed earlier about the body and mind resting, repairing, contributing to various functions like memory consolidation, muscle growth, and tissue repair, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, what is sleep? It is something that is apparently so important that we can't go without.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me hear your take on it.
Sleep is in just incredibly important for the entire spectrum. There's been more studies on the fact that with 6 hours or less sleep, you literally over a prolonged period of time cannot function. Like your brain will slowly decline and decline and decline.
Mm-hmm.
For me, sleep is not only a reset of the mind and the body and the energy, but it is a, like you said, a disattachment from reality. It, well, sleep consolidates and kind of puts all of your information that you have gone through the day and puts it into these, you can almost say like a garage. It puts it into these kind of files of
Yeah.
and storages. it's
Yeah.
incredibly important because you're just bombarded with information throughout the day, and from left and right, and from media and from news, and from social media and from family and from people. Your mind needs to take this from each other, and in the process of sleep, it actually takes what it wants and take what it does not want, and then goes ahead and deletes some of it and then stores some of it. Sleep
Hmm.
for me
Hmm.
is, well, pinnacle to just about anything, because energy is, you can almost say energy is wealth, right? You need energy
Hmm.
to produce something,
Absolutely.
and energy is paramount, is incredibly important. Also, the, well, we're going to go over the fact of REM sleep, light sleep, deep sleep, the
Yeah.
cycles of sleep as well, and also you said about the east western medication, which I also want to go over because
Yeah.
sleep medication is a huge problem as well. So sleep,
Well,
basically.
and,
Yeah.
on one hand, it is a huge problem, but on
Mm.
the other hand, if you know not how to use it, but more importantly, what to use and when to use it, it is a blessing. Not in disguise. It's obvious, but again, too much of a good thing can become a bad thing.
I want to really drill in the importance of sleep, why it's so important, and I want to give these people who are watching right now a few points, a few key points of, if you did not sleep, these key points will disappear and you cannot get them, right? So you need sleep to get these things. Can you give me like a, not a journey, but just an example of when you have gotten too little sleep and you just couldn't function? Like what functions was taken away from you that you
Yes.
just
So
couldn't?
you see, this is something where I cannot speak for everyone because one of my main problems, the one or sorry, one of my main causes or reasons for epilepsy and seizures
Mhm.
was actually not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
So that was one of the triggers which triggered my seizures,
Mhm.
and this is something that really marked my journey because I realized that if I'm not gonna get enough sleep, I risk getting another seizure. So that's
Yes.
why for me it is non-negotiable how much sleep I get during the night.
Mhm.
I don't like, for instance, just to give you an example, the work is the most important thing for me, and education and all of that,
Yes.
but I'm not going to sacrifice sleep for it because I do more damage with it than I do good. Because staying awake an hour or 2 hours more is actually more destructive than productive.
Yes.
And you can definitely resonate with that, right?
Yes.
Because that's the whole point we're trying to make. It is that getting enough sleep and enough of a good quality sleep can actually enhance your performance rather than having that idiotic hustle grind mindset,
Yes.
which is basically, oh, I'm gonna sleep 4 hours and then I'm gonna work for 20 hours a day. No, you, our body doesn't function like that. You can't do that. And yeah, one thing I would say is I think that you should actually get again into the importance of sleep right now, just so that people can be more intrigued to learn more.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go over it. So let's firstly take the superficial. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
say you go ahead and get a night's sleep of 5 hours. Okay. Firstly, when you wake up, you're going to feel extremely lethargic and tired because of the fact that you haven't got enough sleep, and the quality probably
Absolutely.
wasn't that good because the masses of people now just don't know what to do or don't know what quality sleep is. The
Hmm.
superficial stuff is thing like depleted focus. You can focus for less time. Your focus is
Yeah.
diluted. Things like happiness and mood swings. You're going to get more mood swings. You're going to get more angry at little things,
Yeah.
especially. heaviness is going to go down. Things like how you walk and how you talk is going to be less magnetic, and just overall your body is going to function less. They could go into your energy storages. They're going to be lower. Their
Yeah.
um your routines and habits are going to be diluted as well. If you work out
Yeah.
or if you study, you're going to get less done in more time, and just overall, you're going to function worse. That's the superficial.
Yeah.
In the long frame, getting too little sleep every night is going to have extremely bad consequences on your body and your mind. Firstly, on the mind, it processes all of this information in the night, which is crucial, and it sets the beliefs and it sets the routines. And like you can also go into circadian rhythm as well, but it literally sets the basic basis of the next day, and all of the information, etc. So if you have a prolonged period of time where your sleep is just down to 5-6 hours, you're going to experience severe mood swings, decreased happiness, decreased dopamine baseline, decreased, like we've just gone over, like all around daily things is going to be decreased. But then mental things and bodily things are going to function worse, like your organs and your mind and your
Yeah. Yeah.
um, growth, aging. Like you said, you're going to age faster, and your growth is going to be stunted. All of these
Yeah.
things is you can take your daily life and then put sleep in it and then call sleep the great equalizer, right? It takes all of the stuff and information and it sets it in the right place. You can say, if you don't get sleep, all of this information will just be all over the place. But if you get sleep, it will be nicely neat packed into packages and you will be able to function clearly. So the basic premise is, if you want to function right and if you want to function better than everyone else and be more productive and be more energized and be better in the gym and be better in front of the computer, you need sleep. It's that simple.
Yeah. So I would like to add here that there is lack of awareness behind the importance of sleep, right? So that's the one of the primary reasons why you and I are trying to hammer it so that people understand that. Let me say it in a way where persistently skipping on sleep, it's like playing a Russian roulette with your health. it like it can sharply escalate the risk of catastrophic cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes, uh, impairing brain function, like we said, leading to hallucinations and severe cognitive decline. And of course, when I say hallucinations, I mean like after a few days of not sleeping. Um, but again, it's also if you have or if you don't get enough sleep on a long term, so it's like consistently not getting enough sleep that can also happen, but it's genuinely life threatening in a way, right? Because most of so one of the problems we have in modern society is the stupid Alzheimer's disease. And I understand, I completely understand it is a little bit genetic, it is a little bit of this, a little bit, but sleep is one of the biggest contributors to developing an Alzheimer's disease. And on the other fact, let's not get too deep into it, certain cancers. Like the genuine toll that it takes on like mental health is profound. It increases the likelihood of severe depression, like you mentioned, paranoia, anxiety, potentially pushing the mind into the breaking point, right? And chronic sleep deprivation can lead to a spiral of irreversible health deterioration, significantly shortening lifespan and diminishing the quality of life. So it is not something you should fuck around with. Pardon me for my language.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Great. So we have covered the superficial, the just above the water, the tip of the iceberg of why people
Yeah.
should put importance on sleep. So then I want to go ahead and hear your story. What is over the time frame of just how much you have focused about sleep? Then I want to quickly go over mine as well, and then I want to go into all of these categories of how people, how much sleep did you get, when they should do it, their circadian rhythm, and all of these small ticks, tips and tricks
Yeah.
they can do to optimize their
Yeah,
sleep
yeah,
and how they can
of course.
actually function better on a daily basis.
Of course. And I think that we should divide the whole lecture or whatever into two parts.
Yes,
The first part should be the basics, the things that move like your quality of not only quality of sleep but quality of living for like 10%, 20% get so the basics are the things that have the most impact.
yeah,
And
the
then on the
fundamentals.
other hand, exactly. And then on the other hand, on in the set for the latter part, I want to talk about the advanced things.
Yes.
And just so we clarify, advanced means that the basics are basically your nature now.
Mm.
If you don't have the basics down, you should not give a flying shit about advanced things.
Yeah.
And the advanced things are the things that move your sleep and its efficiency, yada yada yada, for like 1%, 5%, maybe even 0.5%. Like I'm gonna talk about what sort of creams I use just to stimulate like my sleep for 0.5% or something like that, which is something that you shouldn't get into as long as you don't have the basics down. And
Absolutely.
when we're going to talk about the basics, you or as you know, we're going to figure out that somehow, or funny enough, I'm going to say, most of the things that influence sleep are done during the day. So, like
Yes.
food, exercise, stretching,
Yes.
things like that. Yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to say that we should do it in basics or in two parts. So
Yes.
basics and then advanced things because I know you mentioned that you have the aura ring and things like that, and those are not basics, but they are things that absolutely contribute to the overall quality of sleep.
Yes. Absolutely. So let's go into just pick the time frame from which you started to begin to focus on sleep and where you thought like, okay, my sleep is not that good, my quality can improve significantly, and then started to shift over and started to study sleep, and then until now. Can
Yeah.
you give me the timeline of what happened there?
Geez, I don't know. Because the problem is that as soon as I had my first seizures,
Mm.
I had to figure something out, and that was when I was, I think, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And then we also have, on the other hand, the thing where I went through a period where I smoked like ungodly amounts of weed without realizing that just because it helps me fall asleep and because I perceive that I sleep better, I actually get way worse quality of sleep.
Yes.
I don't know how much you're knowledgeable about it, but
No.
smoking weed or consuming THC actually completely eliminates your REM sleep.
Yes.
And as
Absolutely.
you know, REM sleep is one of the most important things that you can experience, right? So for the longest time, I did not realize how much damage I was doing. I was unconscious of it, but just because I was sleeping 9 hours a day, I thought that I was, basically my 9 hours of sleep was the excuse to do a lot of other things improperly, right?
Yes.
Because I was overeating prior to going to bed. I
Yeah.
was like things like that of being on your phone, getting
Yes.
like blue light exposure prior
Yes.
to bed, all of those things. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I get 9 hours of sleep, so who gives a fuck about that? No, it's not about that. Like we said, quality over quantity.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't have like a specific timeline or anything that would mark my sleep awareness, because what
Mhm.
happened was I just, as I was studying biohacking, and this has been going on now for over 6 years,
Yes.
as I was studying it, little pieces of puzzle here and there have been presented to me,
Mhm.
and I was, just piecing the puzzle together, getting a clear picture, and now we are here where I am absolutely. So it's been a while since I've done like deep studies on sleep, because when I figured out how important sleep is, I just went deep into it. I just went and I researched everything I had to know. And then, because it's like my philosophy, and the one that I really want everyone to embody, is that you shouldn't half-ass things, in a way where, if there is something that you need to know, or let's say business or whatever, pour your whole life's essence into it and experience the full thing, so that then you can move on from it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to obsess over it, and you're going to put your life essence into it for, I don't know, a month or 3 months, for instance. And in that period, you're going to figure out everything there is to know. You're going to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And then it's going to become a part of you, which is not which is unwavering. It is something that is a part of you now. So you don't need to constantly be looking over it, right? You don't need to. So I'm gonna mention here something I wrote in the book that I did. It is so tracking sleep, um, with in a sense where you have an extensive journaling about what you did prior to bed and how you felt in the morning and all of that. It is very useful for the first part of your journey, where you're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. But then after a certain period of time, you don't need that anymore, because so we can also make an analogy, with food, right? So at the beginning, as I went and tried to master the nutrition and everything, I was constantly using the MyFitnessPal app to scan everything, weigh everything. But after doing that for a year, I sort of had the general idea, like the 80 Pareto's principle, right? The 80-20 rule. I understood 80% of what I need to eat, how much I need to eat it, the ratios in which I need to intake food. So I stopped tracking it. Even with fasting, we can say, at the beginning, I was always having a fasting timer, constantly tracking when I started, when I stopped, yada yada yada. At this point, I don't need that. I don't need the tool to control myself and keep myself accountable. All of that is supremely useful at the beginning, but as you progress through the levels, you're gonna find out that it's not the most important thing anymore, because you get the general idea.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, awesome. This is also a good overview, I think, because yes, I have my Aura ring as well, and it goes
Yeah.
into incredibly deep depths of, well, REM sleep, deep sleep,
Hmm.
sleep efficiency as well, percentage, the waves, and when I wake up, when I go to sleep, and my circadian rhythm as well. It figures that out, as well as stress levels, and just a plethora of knowledge. But I don't use it now because I bought it, used it for 2, 3, 4 months when I really tried to dial in my sleep. And I found out that when I
Hmm.
just got it, my sleep wasn't that good, even though I still focused on it. I shifted my perspective,
Yeah.
and then I perfected my sleep, like perfected my sleep, which we'll also go into. and now I don't use it because I have the principles. The principles I have learned from the
Yeah.
experience of transforming my sleep is in my
Yeah.
brain. I don't need to constantly check it, constantly track it.
Yeah.
And then you can say, well, what is the point of having it then if you don't use it? Well, just establish this baseline of knowledge around my own
Yeah.
sleep circadian rhythm and my own habits and routines, right? So,
Well, yeah. So the one thing I just remembered is I had a period in my life where I was obsessed with the Aura Ring and everything,
yes,
and then I just I just remember watching Alex's Becker channel, right? You know who Alex Becker is?
yes,
Yeah. So I just remember watching one of his, and he was like, when you were a baby, did you focus on having the Oura ring or did you just get a quality sleep? And he was like, no. And he said like that he was even a little bit disappointed in Sam Ovens because Sam Ovens was preaching the Oura ring and tracking and everything. But then I really so I was watching Alex Becker's advice and Sam Ovens' advice, and then I sort of decided to lean more towards Alex Becker because I sort of agree. At certain point, you should just understand that an Aura ring is fun, and like you said, it is very useful at the beginning just so you understand how bad of a sleep you have.
yes,
But after a certain period, you absolutely do not need it because you understand the fundamentals and you understand that you've basically mastered the 80% of the work, and the 20% that is left is going to take you a lifetime to figure out
yes,
because you're not focused on it. And even if you were, there would be way too the tremendous amounts of energy you need to expend to master the last 20%
yes,
is it's not efficient. You should rather just go about it in a fashion where 80% is the thing that you put your life essence into it.
yes,
And then after understanding 80%, you are already above average. Most people are probably don't even get like 30%, 40% of it. So you already surpassed everyone. And then the latter 20%, you should just ease into it. Discover it as you go,
yes,
and all of the pieces will fall into place. You just need to relax into it and allow it to happen. Their
yes. I think that
ability to
after you have
manage stress,
established and
and
mastered
of
the
course, as we
80%,
know, stress is a
then
big
you should
influence on
do
our
that every single
overall
night or as many nights
emotional
as you
health.
can for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
year. And
Which we
then
both
as you
easily
go
agree on
along,
is
try to
quality over
implement small
quantity
stuff,
because it doesn't
like
matter.
small
Yeah.
things, and then
Yeah,
see how your
yeah, it doesn't
body
matter
affects
if you
it.
sleep
And
for 10
then
hours
just over the
or
long term,
shit
go
quality
and
sleep,
switch out these things,
4 hours
experiment
of
with
good
it,
quality sleep
and then
is better than 10 hours
5,
of
10,
poor
20
quality sleep.
years later, then you might be at
Yeah.
90% just because you've gone
Most
and
of it comes
experimented
from
at time to time with these
Exactly.
small things,
stages
right?
of sleep,
So, like you said, you need to master
and
the
yeah,
80%, and that's
good
also what we're here to
hygiene,
do today. Just
the
after
good
I'll
sleep
explain
hygiene
a little
practices can
Yeah.
in a bit,
significantly
I'll
improve
go over
sleep
the things that
quality,
I do
and
and
that's
my
something that
routine
we are going to
and the things
discuss
that I
today
Yeah.
have found
about the
helps
environment, routines,
Yeah.
astronomically,
and everything, how
and then
to
I also
prepare
want
for bed.
you to tell the
Of
audience
course,
what you've done. So
and I'm just gonna throw this in there. Mastering your sleep in first stage means understanding it,
yes,
so having the knowledge, and then on this second stage, it means to realize it, so to make it a part of you
yes,
in a sense where we both know and we are both going to preach it. Consistency is the only thing that matters, because if you've mastered your sleep and done it for 3 months and then you went back to your habits, you've done nothing,
yeah,
absolutely nothing. Consistency and doing something over a long period. So even when we in the first part when we talked about the importance and how things can, or how not getting adequate sleep can yield Alzheimer's disease, cancer, shit. It's not like it's gonna happen overnight. It's not like you're not gonna go for sleep one night and you're gonna get like only 2 hours of sleep and then the next day you're gonna have cancer. No, like it's a process that takes,
Nice.
it
Awesome.
compounds, right?
Yeah.
It
So what I
is
wanted to get into a
consistent,
little in the start
either
is,
right action
well,
or wrong
what is
action
sleep
that gets
and
you to
what
those
does it
things.
do? So
So even
I
when
want
we talk
you to
about
give me like
sleep
the your
enhancing
idea of sleep and what it
memory
does
or
and what the
sleep
process of sleep in the
enhancing
night does
cognitive
for your brain
function,
and does for
if
your
you're gonna
energy
get
and
one
does
night
for
of
your
good sleep,
storages of energy
yes,
and
there's gonna be
also
a difference, but it's
physique,
not gonna be a
muscle
sustainable
building,
difference. If you want,
soreness.
the point of
Give me
everything
what
is
you
to
know and
change
what you
your
think, and then
baseline,
I'll
right?
give.
Because my baseline has moved so high that even if I don't get a good sleep 2 nights in a row, I'm still
It's
gonna
still
be
great.
performing. Yeah, I mean, of course, not optimal, but I'm still gonna be performing better than 90%, 95, 99% of other people, right?
Yes.
So yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Then I want
The
to
first
quickly
one is
just give people an overview
overall
of
health
what
and
my
well-being
journey have been as
contributor,
well,
right? So
because
sure,
I
sure.
think that this
Essential
will
for overall
resonate with a
health,
lot of people. I
like I
think that
discussed,
I
impacting
think
mood,
my starting
cognitive
point would
function, and
be
physical
one of the
health,
most
and of
normal starting
course, it
points
reduces
for at
risk
least
of
Yeah.
chronic
young people
illnesses,
today. So let me
which
take you
is
back.
something that I was
It's
very
approximately
interested
one
in
year
because
ago,
I don't
last
know if
December
Hmm.
somewhere,
told you
which I
about it or
just
Okay.
not, but
went
I had
crazy on sleep.
problems with epilepsy and
I started
Okay.
seizures when I was
hearing
younger.
the sleep
Did
podcast by
did I tell you about
I
it?
think it's Matt Walker, who also has written a book
Yeah.
about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I
a
started to
lot, a
research and I started
huge
going
reason
into
for
the
the
depths of it,
existence of anomaly incubator itself
and
and all of that is
I
me
thought
realizing
that just
that
knowing about it
Western
would
medicine
enhance it
is
because I would do small
absolute
things here
Yeah.
and
trash,
there
and I
and
had to
etc.
seek
But my starting
answers
point would
in number one,
be
personalized
um,
journey. So just
a
trying things
normal
out, which
routine.
biohacking
You
is
just
exactly that,
watch
right?
something and then you go to bed
Um,
and you have no
as you know,
idea that
biohacking is
your
something
mind
which
is
is
racing
personalized
after
because we
watching
are
all
all
this
different and you're
stuff on the
trying to
internet.
optimize
I'd go to
things
sleep,
Yeah.
for
I'd wake up
yourself.
with an alarm,
Just
and
like
then
we
I
are
go
going to
on
talk
about
about
my day.
sleep today,
Yeah.
Now, that seems
is
normal because
something that
it's normal to the
there is a
masses,
universal
but
formula, which
it's
means
because
that there
it's
are
good
certain
sleep has
things
become
that are
so
the
bad
same
sleep has
for
become so
everyone, but
saturated,
then you have to,
or it's become so
Yeah.
normal for all these people that they
Yeah.
have
whether
no
Yeah.
you
idea,
whether
which
you want
is
to
why we're
sleep
here,
2 times a day
what
in
good
like
sleep is, and
equal
because your
size
brain doesn't talk
portions,
to
or whether
you
you want
when
to
you
do it just
do all of
once,
Yeah.
or do
your
you want to do
normal
naps, or
stuff,
you don't want to do
that you have no
naps, and
idea.
all of that, right?
So
Because if you
as
go
the
back
month went on,
into
I started to
some of
gain
the
more
greatest
knowledge and I
minds,
started to
like
gain
let's
more
say Nikola
awareness as
Tesla
well.
and people like that,
I
they
started to
I don't
feel
know who
things
exactly
when I got
exactly
better
was
sleep
that,
and when I
but
got
I
good sleep.
remember
One of
reading
the
about
first
someone who did
implementations I ever did
um,
was get the
like
Alami app,
every
right? And then I had to take a picture of
2 hours or
my
something like
bathroom
that. They went and they
mirror
did like a 20-minute nap, and they never
Yeah.
had
so my alarm
a
just didn't
prolonged sleep.
turn
They
off
just
until I
did
did that.
20
That
minutes
was
or
the
an
first
hour or
thing which
something,
I
but
ever
they
established
constantly had
was
little
when
naps
the
but
alarm
never
rings,
really went
I
and
get
did
up.
a
I
full eight
don't
hour
snooze. I
whatever.
don't stay in bed. I get up no
But yeah,
matter
Yeah.
what.
that's a little bit
And
off
that
topic.
has
Instantly.
transformed
But basically,
into
again,
now.
so
I
health and
when the
well-being
alarm rings,
is a
I
big
just
thing.
get up. There's no
Then
snoozing, there's no staying in bed.
it is a
When the alarm
restorative
rings, I just
process
get
of
up.
itself.
That was the first thing.
That is why
Alongside my research and stuff like that, I
really
literally just
focus on
go.
it, because
I literally just go
you
onto
can
YouTube
imagine it
and
sort of
online
in a
and
way
search
where
for sleep.
we do or we use
It's
meditation and
all of
things
the
like that
information and all
to
of the basics you
restore
need
our
is on the
mental
internet, right? But we're going to
abilities,
go over
because
all of
we
it here.
allow
Then
our
I
brain
Yeah.
and
got my Aura ring,
processes
and
to
the Aura ring has a
order.
system where
And
it
sleep is
ranks
something
your
where you
sleep,
actually
right?
completely
Hmm.
From zero
detach
to
from the
zero to
physical
100.
and allow
And
itself
when
to
you're up at
do what
80,
has to
at
be done. And
85, I
that's
think is the
the
baseline
thing that
for
I
optimal sleep.
discussed earlier about
When I got
the
my
body and
Aura
mind
ring,
resting, repairing,
I
contributing to various
started taking it
functions
on,
like
and my
memory
sleep was,
consolidation,
well,
muscle growth, and
worse than
tissue
I thought
repair,
at
right?
least. It was around 70,
So
72,
yeah,
73
what is sleep? It is
consistently.
something that
And
is
I'd also look
apparently
over the
so
charts. I'd
important
look at
that
REM
we
sleep,
can't go
deep
without.
sleep, light sleep, etc. And I'd
Yeah, so
find
let me
that
hear your take on it.
sometimes I'd even just get 45 minutes of REM sleep, which is nothing. It's damaging. Alongside my research, I started getting into things like blue light blockers, sunlight in the morning, fasting in the evening, um, wind down routine, journaling in the evening. What do you do in the morning? All of this stuff just got presented to me by the right people, and I started to implement all of it. And
Of course.
like you said, the basics, the foundations is what I'm trying to convey here, is the biggest part. Now I think the biggest score I've ever had was 96, which is literally 4 from the best sleep you can ever get. The normal sleep efficiency, the percentage efficiency I get is 92%. That is huge. How it's in quality of sleep, right? So how efficient your sleep
Mm-hmm.
is, because people can get 8 hours of sleep, like we said, quality over quantity, but their sleep efficiency might be like 60%, and their sleep is half as good as it can be, right? So you can literally get 10 hours of sleep, but your brain is only getting 6 because your efficiency is
Yeah.
what it wants.
Yeah.
But now I'm not using it, but now I have the habits, and I'm consistently getting 90s to 95s with optimal REM and deep sleep, 2 hours each.
Yeah.
Um, and my routine, my circadian rhythm is just absolutely nailed in, like dialed in. And that's what people have to understand, that it's routines and habits which form the long-term goals. Routines and habits are some of the most important stuff you can establish. If you have good routines and good habits
Yeah.
in those routines, then you can accomplish almost everything, every goal that you want to get. So that's my journey in a nutshell. And then I want to ask you, what
Well,
practices
at
do you do in the
the,
morning, throughout the day,
on one
in the
hand, it
evening
is
before
a
we go
huge
to bed,
problem, but on the other
and
hand,
what
if you know
external
not
and
how to
internal
use it,
things
but
do you do?
more
Like, do you have blue
importantly,
light
what to
blockers, and do
use
you
and
do
when to
meditation
use
before
it,
bed,
it is a blessing.
and
Yeah.
fasting,
In
nutrition,
disguise. It's
etc.
obvious, but
Take me through
yeah.
it all.
Again, so what we're gonna do, we're just gonna do it in a
I want to
sense
really
where I have
drill in the
written
importance of
down
sleep, why it's so
my,
important, and I want to give these
I
people
mean,
who are
it's
watching right
basically
now
our
a few points, a
most
few key
important
points
things
of,
that
if you did not sleep,
influence sleep,
those
and
these
let's just go
key
through each
points
and
will
every one of them
disappear, and
and
you
provide
cannot get
our
them, right? So you need sleep
take
to
on
get
it.
these
So,
things. Can you
number
give me
one, I
like
would say the
a,
one that you
not a
already
journey, but just
mentioned,
a
the one that is
example
influencing
of when you
our
have
rhythm
gotten
and
too little
everything
sleep
is
and you just couldn't
consistent
function? Like,
sleep
what functions was
schedule,
taken away from
right?
you that you
So again, let's just go back and forward. I want to say that for me, understanding the importance of consistent sleep schedule was one of the most important thing, because as you mentioned, your body thrives on a routine. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends or whatever happens, yeah, can regulate your body's internal clock. And with the sleep schedule, it is so this is something that we talked about on another one that we on another call, about how you wake up at 3:50 or 3:45, and I wake up at 7 or 8 in the morning, but in reality we both achieve the same productivity over the day, and it doesn't matter when you wake up. It doesn't matter if you wake up at 1 a.m or at 4 a.m or whatever the fuck. It matters, number one, how you sleep, and number two, what do you do with your waking hours. So, but for that, it is important that you set a realistic bedtime that works for you and stick to it. And my argument to you was I cannot wake up at 3:50 even though I would love to, because I usually still have trainings and obligations at 8 or 9 p.m. And that's something I cannot change, because a training is something where the gym is free, and my coach is there and things like that. So yeah, but give me your take on consistent sleep schedule.
that's one of the biggest factors, like you just said. A consistent schedule, in the start, a piece of paper where you write down when you go to sleep and when you wake up, can be extremely, extremely proficient, can be extremely helpful to you, because sometimes you might don't even know when you wake up and when you go to sleep, right? Some people just
Yeah.
dabble around and go to sleep whenever. No, if you go along the basis of, I need to get 7 to 8 to 9 hours of sleep, here's when I want to go to bed, here's when I want to go wake up, and then slowly start to move along those parameters. Let's say
Yeah.
I think one of the most normal schedules would be 10 p.m. in the evening to 7 or
Yeah.
8 a.m. in the morning. And that's a
Absolutely.
really good starting line. Then, if you want to wake up earlier, well, then start to push back little by little by little, just 5 or 10 minutes every night when you go to sleep. And then you can also push
Yeah.
back when you wake up, right? If you
Yeah.
want to stay up late at night and work there because you're really efficient and productive in the evening, then start to push front the wake-in point, if you can do that, of course. Um, Not only that, a very fascinating thing is in dogs they have circadian rhythms as well. A dog
Yeah.
knows when it needs to get sunlight when it wakes up. It will literally
Yeah.
go out and sit at the door in the morning when it needs to get sunlight. And humans have the same instinct, but they don't. Like the human body don't act on its own. It don't wake up and then stand at the door to get sunlight in the eyes. But a human being has a circadian rhythm, a rhythm in your body which knows when day is day and when night is night. And yes, it
Yeah.
changes. Like right now, we have longer nights, and in 6 months, we have longer days.
Yeah.
But understanding the circadian rhythm and getting sunlight in your eyes in the morning as well is also crucial. But going back, scheduling and knowing your schedule and sticking to your schedule, even in the weekends. Like I wake up at the same time and go to bed at the same time,
Yeah.
no matter what day it is, no matter if there's any kind of a family thing going on, if there's a holiday,
Yeah.
anything. Like
Yeah.
I've just established my parameters and I've refined them over time that I just do it, right? Mental
Yeah.
things and
And
bodily things are going
and
to
it's funny because we're
function
actually
worse,
recording
like
it
your
on the
organs and
31st
your
of
mind and
December,
your
which means
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
the new year.
growth,
And
aging. Like you
I
said,
can
you're going to
already
age faster
see
and your
all the
growth is going to
people
be
going out
stunted.
to party, being
All of
awake till
Yeah.
these
2
things
a.m.
is you can you
But on
you
the
can
other
take
hand, I
your
don't
daily
know
life and
about
then
you.
put
I
sleep in
assume
it and
that
then
you're doing
call
the
sleep
same.
the
But for me,
great
at 10
equalizer, right?
a.m.,
It
I mean,
takes
sorry, at
all
10
of the
p.m., I
stuff
will
and
be asleep.
information
And
and it
in
sets it in
the
the right
5
place.
a.m. in the
You can
morning or
say
6 a.m., I'm gonna
if you
be
don't
awake,
get
going
sleep,
on about my
all of this
sleep.
information will just be
It's
all over the place. But if you get
non-negotiable.
sleep,
I
it will
don't
be
care.
nicely neat,
I don't
packed
care.
into
It's just
packages, and you will
another
be
day.
able to absolutely. And I want to, while we're on the topic of New Year's, I want to transition into alcohol and nutrition. So people will
Absolutely.
most likely tonight drink, just like Christmas Eve. I didn't drink. I haven't drunk in a very long time. I'm not going to drink tonight. I'm not going to get any sweets tonight. I'm literally going to stick to my diet and
Yeah,
drink water. Like I just drink purified water. But let's go into alcohol and nutrition and its effects on sleep. Alcohol will not only deceive
let me
you,
say it this
but it will
way:
destroy your
the
sleep.
persistently sleeping
Destroy it.
with
So let me
sleep,
go through it.
it's like playing Russian
Alcohol
roulette,
will
literally.
most likely allow you
It
to
like
stay up because
it
you're at a
can
party or something else
sharply escalate
and
the
get
risk of
a later night of sleep, which is the first bad step.
cardiovascular
Secondly,
events like heart attacks and
alcohol will
strokes,
deceive you. When you sleep
impairing
or when
your
you go
brain
to sleep with
function, like
alcohol
you
in your
said,
system,
leading
you
to
think that you will
hallucinations
sleep
and
better and
severe
you think that
cognitive
you will
decline.
sleep more
And of course,
comfortably and
when I
you
say
think that you will
hallucinations,
sleep
I mean like after a
faster
few
and fall
days of
asleep
not
faster, which
sleeping.
is
Yeah, yeah. But
even
again,
though
it's
you
also
feel
if you don't
like
have
you
or
are
if
more
you don't get
comfortable and
enough
that you will
sleep
fall asleep
on a
faster,
long term, so it's like
that's not right.
consistently not
Your
getting enough
sleep will
sleep, that
be
can also
deteriorated
happen.
by the fact
Yeah.
that
But
your REM
it's
sleep will be very
genuinely
limited,
life
your deep
threatening
sleep will
in
be
a
very
way, right?
limited. You will
Because
kind of
most of the
flow
so
around in
one
the
of the
parameters of
problems we
light sleep.
have in
And
modern
not going into deep
society
sleep and
is
REM
the
sleep is,
stupid
well,
Alzheimer's disease,
well,
and I
it's
understand
not a very good
useless.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So at the same point or at the same time, let me again just throw it out there
Yes.
for all of you weed smokers. And look, my heart is with you. I get you because it's amazing. There is, and I know you don't smoke weed and everything, but for me and for everyone who understands this, it's so let's be honest with ourselves, comforting, and
Yes.
it's so dopamine spiking, to just be like when you get home after a long day of work and you have enough of everyone, you just want to roll up a nice little joint, smoke it, and then have a little bit of fast food or something. I don't. Again, it depends on the individual, and then you just
Yeah.
want to go and
Absolutely not.
basically,
Yeah,
I
you're
don't want
absolutely
to
right.
say just
Great. So we
die
have
in our
covered
bed,
the
right? Because
superficial, the just above
you
the
can
water,
barely
the tip
stay
of the
awake,
iceberg
and
of why people
you feel as if
put
you're
importance
going and
on
you're gonna
sleep.
get the best
So
night's
then I
rest.
want to go
But
ahead
in
and hear
reality,
your story.
it
What
comes
is
and
over the
haunts you
time frame of just
because
how much you
number
are focused
one, you
about
have
sleep?
messed up
Then I want to
because
quickly go
you
over
smoked
mine as
weed
well,
and
and
it's
then I
gonna
want to
affect
go
your
into all of
sleep.
these
That's
categories
why
of how
people don't
people, how much
drink
sleep they
when they
should
smoke
get,
weed. And
when they should
number
do
two,
it, their
you've
circadian
just
rhythm, and
eaten
all of these
a
small
huge
ticks and
amount of
trips,
calories
ticks,
in
tips and
prior to
tricks
going to bed.
to optimize their
Yeah,
So
sleep
yeah,
and
let's
how they
quickly
can
of
actually
course.
function better on a
address
daily
the
basis.
reason why you shouldn't eat prior to bed. And I'm gonna say it in a way where you have two humongous nervous and neurological sort of complexes in your body, and the biggest one is your brain, and the second biggest is your gut, is your digestive system. And I want you to understand that if you eat prior to going to bed, once you will settle in, instead of all of the blood, all of the regenerative processes being inside of the biggest system, which is brain, they will have to be, they will force to be, because they have no choice. They have no, like, it would be amazing if our processes would be conscious and they would be like, oh, I see, he went to sleep, so let's forget about the food until the morning and let's go deal with the brain. No. What happens is all of the energy is moved into your gut so that and into your digestive system so that you can process the food. And I don't know how people, I don't know if people are aware of it, but you are actually burning energy and burning calories while you're processing the food. And your metabolism and things of that nature cannot work properly, function properly, if you are digesting food. So, and again, it is twofold. It's not only when you eat, but it's also what you eat. And so let's just get back quickly into the first thing which you said. So alcohol is the number one, weed is the number two, and then the number three is caffeine, right? And there, like people are unaware of how long
Absolutely.
the
So
caffeine's
let's go
half
into
life is. That means that
just
it takes 12
pick the time
hours or
frame from
something
which you
like that
started to
for
begin to
half of the
focus on sleep
caffeine
and
to
where you
get
thought
out of
like,
your system.
okay, my sleep is
I
not
don't
that good, my
remember.
quality can
I can
improve
look it up while you're
significantly,
gonna
and then
give me
started
your
to
take on
shift
it.
over and
But
started to study sleep,
caffeine,
and then until
like
now.
if
Can
you
you
Yeah,
give me the
drink a
timeline of
cup
what
of
happened there?
coffee in the morning, it's still gonna be in your system when you go to bed. That is why I stopped drinking caffeine. I don't. I used to be not an addict to coffee itself, but I had uh, 10 different coffees from all around the world. I love to prepare it. I did Kyoto style, I did pour over, I did Turkish style, I did like it was an art preparing that coffee. And I still love to do it for other people. But me, as a high performance individual, striving, yeah, striving to become supreme, I cannot do it. Like, I had to sacrifice caffeine for productivity, efficiency, and health. Now, I will say that I have fellow biohacking friends who have a lot more knowledge, a lot more experience, and they are promoting caffeine because, truth be told, coffee, genuine coffee, not that stupid instant coffee, bar cafe, or whatever. Yeah, those are the things that are useless by themselves except they have caffeine in it. But genuine coffee, the one that comes in beans, the one you ground up, it's actually very healthy for your system. It helps with so coffee has anti-aging properties. Coffee has a lot of different attributes or a lot of different effects which are very positive, but as we're gonna figure out in our over the span of our journey is the question is always what is your goal? And my goal was to become a robot. I mean a robot in sense of performance, right? I wanted to achieve such supreme performance and productivity that even though I love coffee and I love weed and I love a lot of other things, I said I have to sacrifice them, put it on the fire so that the fire can burn more brightly and I can have more energy.
Exactly.
Sleep,
So I
because
want to myself. I'll give
when
my
I
take on coffee
figured
as well.
how
So for the
important sleep
longest
is,
time,
I just went
I was
deep into it.
drinking
I
tea,
just
and there's caffeine in
went and
black
I
and
researched
green
everything
tea as
I
well.
had to
But
know.
I was
And
Yeah.
just
then,
drinking
because
tea,
it's
and I was
like
getting my tea in the
my
morning, and I was getting
philosophy,
my tea in the evening,
and the one that I
and that
really
worked
want
Yeah.
everyone to
extremely well
embody
for me
is
because it
that
was
you
these are
shouldn't
morning and night teas,
you shouldn't
which is also
half-ass
a great
things
thing to implement.
in a way
Then I
where
started getting into the realm of
if there
coffee
is something that you need to
and
know, or let's say
started brewing
business
up
or
some coffees.
whatever,
And over the
pour
span of
your
the first
whole
1 to 2 weeks of
life's
trying
essence
coffee,
into it and experience the whole
find
thing so that then
I
you
find
can
myself that
move on
I was
from
just
it.
hyper
Because
stimulated and
what's gonna
hyper
happen
productive
is
in
you're
those
gonna
hours which I just
obsess over
insert
it and you're gonna
caffeine. But
put
I've
your
always
life's
known that
essence into
caffeine
it
is
for
literally in your
I don't know
system
a month or 3 months or
for
Yeah.
extreme
6 months,
amounts of time, and that
and
I've always
in
gone by
that
rule, right? Because
period
I've
you're
been
gonna
in
figure
the
out
gym for a long time,
everything there is to know.
and last
You're
year
gonna
I
figure
took a
out
bunch
what
of
works for you and
pre
what
workout as
doesn't,
well. I don't
and
do
then
that
it's
anymore.
gonna
It's a
become
dumb
a
thing to do
part of
anyway.
you
But never
which is
ever
unwavering. It is
intake any caffeine
something
after
that
2 o'clock.
is
That
a
was
part
my
of you
principle, my
now,
rule.
so you don't need to
Yeah.
Then it
constantly
won't affect your
be
sleep too much.
looking
Still
over it,
will.
right? You don't.
It will still be in
So
your system.
I'm
But
gonna mention here
if
something
Yeah.
you're
I wrote in the
a
book
coffee drinker,
that
then limit it to that.
I did
I started
in
taking
Yeah.
university.
caffeine, and then
So tracking
I think
sleep
maybe 1 or 2 months ago, I just completely
with in a
shut it
sense where
out,
you have
and
an
Yeah.
that's where I want to
extensive
get into our potions,
journaling
like
about what you did,
Yeah.
how you
nuts
Exactly.
did
and herbs
that, and how you
and
felt
herbs
and what
and everything
works
that
Exactly.
all
is
those
within
Exactly.
our
things.
body,
It is
in
Yeah.
our
useful
gut,
for the first
and that can
part
promote
of your journey
extreme
where
benefits
you're
for our
trying to
energy
figure
and
out what works.
a great
Of course, and we're
special
gonna,
for
we're also gonna go into depth into potions, and let's say just for the sake of keeping this podcast less than 10 hours long, let's say that that's gonna be a specific one where it can be a shorter one, but we're gonna be discussing herbalism and how to create your morning and evening potions because that's something I was obsessing with for the longest time, and I can hear that you've done the same. But let me just quickly throw it out there for everyone to understand. The half life of caffeine is 5 hours. Now let's go and process that. If you drink one coffee a day and you wake up early at 5 a.m., that means that all of the caffeine is going to be in you at 5 a.m. At 10 a.m., there's still going to be half of that. At 3 p.m., there's going to be a quarter of that. And then this is where it gets, sort of the point sort of starts to crystallize. At 8 p.m., when you should be getting ready to sleep, there's still an eighth of all the caffeine you
yes,
drank at
absolutely,
5 a.m.
yes,
And exactly, and then if you just
awesome.
add another five hours,
That's also a good
that means that
overview, I
at
think,
1
because
a.m., okay, 1
yes, I
a.m.
have
the
my aura ring as
next
well,
day, there is
and
still
it goes
Yeah.
into
one
incredibly
sixteenth
deep depths
of
of,
caffeine you drank,
well, REM sleep,
which
deep
will
sleep,
affect your sleep.
Mhm.
sleep, and that's we've thrown it out there, and it's almost perpetual, right? If someone wakes up at 5 a.m. and they drink the coffee by 5:30 every single morning, then it's going to be in a system almost 24/7, 7 days a week.
But not almost,
Used
but
it
it will
for
be.
2, 3,
And
4 months,
most people don't
and I
drink
really
one
tried
coffee at
to dial
5
in my sleep.
5
And I
a.m.
found out
Most
that
people
when
are
I
Mhm.
just
like,
got it, my sleep
I
wasn't
just
that
ate
good,
my
even though I
lunch, so
still
let's drink
focused on it.
an
I
after
shifted my
lunch
perspective,
coffee.
Yeah.
and then I
And
perfected my sleep,
it's 4
like
p.m. What
perfected
the
my
fuck
sleep,
do you
which we also
mean?
go. And it might even be at Starbucks or something like a cold icy mate latte stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
even in my home country, they just like to drink coffee at if they have some kind of evening, some kind of
Yeah.
evening
Yeah.
um, get together, right? And it's literally an hour or 2 hours before sleep that you drink like 1, 2 cups of coffee. It's destroying your
Yeah.
sleep. And now we can't really go ahead and speak ill of these people because they might not even know. But
Yeah.
just throw out the importance of it. Good.
Yeah. Of course.
Then I
Uh,
we have covered like the big topics, right? So sleep scheduling, having a
yeah.
consistent schedule for sleep, waking up and
Yeah.
going to bed.
Yeah.
We've gone
Diet
over,
and hydration.
yes, so alcohol, weed as
Yeah.
well, nutrition,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I want to then,
So
So we're not gonna be covering the specifics of diet and hydration, just because that's a topic for itself. Diet and nutrition and hydration, it's something that once you get into biohacking, you understand that everything is connected to everything. So but yeah, I think that the next thing we should talk about from the basics is actually sleep environment.
yes, yes, sleep hygiene as well.
Yeah, I mean that sort of falls under the same category, right?
Absolutely.
Because
So you go ahead and
yeah.
start,
Go
and
ahead.
then I'll take some notes as well, and then we can switch, and then I'll say to the people what I do at least.
okay, so a restful environment is crucial for quality sleep, and there is so much to it. Like there, like I mean, in a sense where, for instance, after getting into the sleep and everything, I started to a wear the anti blue light glasses from 6 p.m. forwards, and then 4 hours prior to bed, I just don't use electronic devices, or I try to keep it 2 hours prior to bed, but if it's possible, I keep it to four. Um, and as I know, you are a person like me who does a lot of their journaling and things like that onto paper. So we actually have a medium which allows us to actually just go away from every, because so I have a remarkable to, if I need to read like PDFs or researches on uh, electronic versions, so ebooks and things like that. And then on the other hand, I have physical books, or I just write things down. And yeah, but again, when it comes to sleep environment and sleep hygiene, it is number one, not getting blue light, because it disturbs your understand. So it disturbs your unconscious understanding of when light. I mean, when the day is out, and things like that. And number two, it is generally light itself should be very white and bright in the morning, and as you get especially one of the things you mentioned earlier were seasons and sun or sunlight. And for me personally, I noticed that during the summer, when the days are longer, I actually sleep less and still get enough sleep. But in the morning, I naturally wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. because that's when the sun goes up. And I sleep less, but I feel the same amount of restfulness, because, like for instance, as soon as we got into these shorter days where the days are so absurdly short, at 5 p.m. I'm already sleepy.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much I've slept and how good of a quality sleep there was, because there is no sun and there is no real like energy around, and it's a lot. It takes a lot more energy to be high performance during the day.
Mhm.
But I sort of treat winter as a recovery season when it comes to the fact that I can get more hours of sleep,
Mhm.
but I can really, allow my body to rejuvenate, to grow, and things like that, and prepare myself for summer. And I
Yes.
think that there is a seasonality to it.
And it's human nature as well. Like over
Of
the
course,
over the hundreds of thousands of
seasonality.
years we've been alive, it's just how the human circadian rhythm works. So I want to stress the importance of blue light, okay? Because
Yeah.
we too have blue light blockers, and I absolutely recommend it to everybody. You can get a cheap pair for like 30, $40. And
No, wait, no, no. You can, no, 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 no. You can get it. Don't get me wrong. I understand where you're coming from, but I get my things from AliExpress,
yeah.
and the you can get. I'm not lying. I'm not joking when I say I have, and you can go search for it. It's called Bright Zone. They are anti blue light glasses, which I found on AliExpress, and I shit you not, they costed me 60 cents without shipping. So forget about $40 and things like that, because these are working absolutely fine. I've done the test, so
Yeah,
I tried to shine the blue light over them and it doesn't go through. So they work and they cost nothing. So
I see.
this is one of the things that you can just get for $1 or $2 or whatever your currency is,
Yes.
and just get it on AliExpress, Alibaba, or something like that. You don't have to spend $40 on it.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the importance of it. If you would think just 300, 500 years ago, the normal human did not have any technology or TV or something, whatever. They wouldn't be exposed to blue light, whatever, because they just did
Yeah.
not have the access to it. Okay? So the human mind and human retina, the human eyes have literally molded itself into serotonin release. In the evening, when the sun goes down and the moon goes up and it's getting dark outside, the brain and the body naturally releases serotonin, and it is the
Yeah.
natural sleep inducing hormone in your body. And if
Yeah. Trigger.
yes, and if you get all this blue light in your in your face, and especially when the sun has gone down in the evening, your serotonin release, your serotonin production reduces heavily, heavily, meaning that the human body will literally handicap your ability to sleep and your quality of sleep. That's the first thing. If you get a blue light blocking device, blue light blocking glasses, excuse
Glasses.
me,
Yeah.
and that's the first step. But if you don't have it right now, and if you need to order it, you can literally just go ahead and download something called Flux on Mac at least, which will literally start to make your screen more and more orange as the day goes along, and it will literally restart
Hmm.
itself in the morning. You can go ahead and do it on iPhone as well. Set it
Yeah.
regular times as well, and I think it's the same for Samsung and Android, etc.
For the Android devices, I
Yes.
can tell you that it's already in the system.
Yes.
It's actually called reading mode.
Yes.
So a reading mode. So the thing you described does it automatically, but I'm not gonna lie. I think that from the day one I bought this phone I currently have, I have never turned off anti blue light slash
Yes.
reading mode. So I just live with it.
Yes.
It's always on, because I just think that it actually protects your eyes in a sense
As
where,
well. Yes.
um, especially us two who are like online slash digital entrepreneurs, and we spend so much time behind computer devices.
Yes.
I always have the reading mode on, even on my computer, because I couldn't care less. What I figured out is that if you don't have the reading mode on during the day and you're doing like 8 hour sessions or 5 hour sessions, your eyes get tired, they get dry, they get absolutely destroyed. So reading, having the reading mode always on is very, very beneficial.
Absolutely. Then I want to go ahead and say the importance of sunlight as well in the morning. So in the summer,
Yes, of
this
course.
summer, every single like the first thing I would do when I would wake up, the sun would be up, and I would go outside and not stare at the sun, but have my eyes open outside, pointing
Yeah,
towards the direction of the sun, and just stand there for 5 minutes. When you wake up, that will spike your circadian rhythm, spike your dopamine in a good way. It will spike your energy,
yeah,
and it will spike your, like I said, your circadian rhythm, and you will just be awake. Huge.
yeah,
In the winter time, when the sun literally stays up at like 9 a.m., you,
yeah,
well, most of us can't do that because we wake up at earlier times, and the sun is almost
yeah,
just hiding away under the clouds. So you have to, you can get, I think you can get something online where it's a light and more or less replicas of sunlight, right? But you have to find some kind of way to just slowly incorporate sunlight into your eyes as soon as you can, right? That's a huge
yeah,
one. Also, that will regulate your circadian rhythm for the night. Also, that will hugely benefit
yeah,
your sleeping regimen and sleeping schedule as well. Hygiene. Keep your bed clean. Keep your sheets washed 1 times a week. Keep your bed nice. Keep it cool as well. Cool sleep. You need to
yeah,
have cold sleep. That will be so beneficial. Wind down routine. So usually I wind down 1.5 hours prior. I start getting
yeah,
off my computer. I stretch. I meditate. I journal. I read. I pray, and then I just get into bed and I sleep within 10 minutes every single night without fail, just because of the habits and routines and benefits that I do. Right. So that's the big ones. We have gone over schedule. That's big. Your nutrition and alcohol consumption and weed consumption as well. Those are big. Blue light blockers, serotonin release,
yeah,
huge. Sunlight, hygiene, sleep hygiene, so cleanliness, etc. And then winding down routine. You can literally just go ahead and schedule a wind down routine today. Say, I want to half an hour before I'm in bed, I want to do a little stretch and then start to journal.
yeah.
And then try it
Mm-hmm.
out. Tomorrow it may be something else. In a week it may be something completely else. You will go ahead and
Yeah.
experiment with it, and then figure out what works out for you. Other things like
Ex-
fasting. So 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, stop eating anything. Like we said, your gut will literally process it, and your brain will not be able to restore in the night. Do that. I
Yeah.
usually tend to aim around 2 to 3 hours before I go to bed. It's no eating. It's fasting state. Um,
So I do have like two things to add here, uh, but just my take on what you said. So A is I simulate light in the winter because what you said is absolutely correct, and that is in the summer you can go out and like I told you previously, it is sunlight wakes me up in the morning, but I had to simulate or replicate it um, during the winter, and when the days get too short for them to be efficient for my personal performance. So I'm a very big do-it-yourself sort of guy because I hate buying things like even with 100,000 in the bank and shit like that. I don't want to spend money on things that can be made for very cheap because I like making those projects myself. I've always loved to do it. So what I've done is I went and I bought two timers. one for the white light and one for the LEDs.
Yes.
So what I've done is as we talked, the first thing we discussed is sleep schedule. So I've just set up the timer that 15 minutes prior to me having to wake up,
Yes.
it turns on the slight LEDs. We just make my room a little bit brighter, and then when I have to wake up, it turns on the humongous light which I have, and it's a white light, so it's an instant wake up for me.
Yes.
And that's something that I wanted to also discuss is you said that you wake up with an alarm. I don't think I've woken up with an alarm in in years, because and again, I understand this is not practical for everyone because some people have to get to a job, they have to yada yada yada. But for me personally, I figured out that allowing myself to sleep as much as I need is more important than waking up at a specific time. So again, I allow the gentle lights to be turned on in the morning, and then when I have a deadline to get up, because there's no reason for me to go for more than 9 hours of sleep. So after 9 hours, the huge white light turns on, so I can get up. Um, but the second thing you mentioned is the with the sleep hygiene is getting a cool environment. So room temperature, that's the first thing. And the second thing, which I would, because I understand not everyone can regulate the room in the the temperature in the room and things like that. So what I will recommend to most people is that your nighttime routine should start when you get a warm shower. And the reason for that is, look, I am very, very big on cold showers and ice baths, but they should be done in the morning or at the latest in the afternoon. Um, but in the evening, you should get a nice, relaxing, hot shower. And the reason for that is that you should try and help your body start to cool down and experience the cool down process, because that is how you get a better sleep. So you want your goal or your objective should be going from warm to cold. So what I do is I go and so my evening routine doesn't really start with it, but uh, let's say that the part I do at home starts with that. I get a hot shower and I am in there for 5 minutes so that I literally basically cook myself.
Yeah.
Um, and after I get out of the shower, I instantly put on a hoodie. I instantly put on like long sweaters and socks and things like that, so that for the time of me doing the meditation, prayer, journaling, and things like that, I am still very, very hot. And then as soon as I get into the bed, um, I usually I usually sleep naked, so I just take off all my clothes and get underneath the sheets, and my body starts to cool down, and I usually keep. So let me check how. Right now I have 17 degrees in my room, so that's sort of where I keep it.
Yes, and that's huge because I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere that your core temperature of your body literally needs to go down half a degree for you to even be
Yeah.
able to sleep ever. Like it needs to do that.
Yeah.
Before it does that, you cannot fall asleep. So that's big. I usually just open up a window one or half an hour before I go to bed. Let in a bunch
Yeah.
of cool air here in the winter, and then close it, and I get to sleep. And I love,
Yeah.
absolutely love cold nights. Like being under the sheets and being
Absolutely.
there just freezing in a room, it's the best.
Yeah, it's cozy.
So
Um,
that would be, at least from my side, the first part, right? The basics, the fundamentals. If people can drill this into their brain and drill this into their daily habits and routines, they will experience extreme benefits.
So I have three more points for the
Yeah,
basics actually.
I see.
Um, but so the next one is the one that we're gonna have a separate episode on because it's again something like diet and nutrition, and that is physical activity.
Yeah,
And it's very important to understand that regular exercise can promote better sleep.
of course.
Um, but at the same time, I do need to mention here because I have experience with that intense workouts close to bedtime um, are not optimal because uh, so we said that we need to promote your body temperature to drop. But if you exercise too close to your bedtime, what happens is your body is still pumping blood and you cannot cool down because your metabolism and things like that are not really optimal for you getting to bed. But physical activity in itself, so you exhausting yourself during the day is it's a huge basic uh, fundamental part of everything when it comes to sleep.
And also just because you want to tire out your body. If you have too much
Yeah.
energy stored in your body when you're going to sleep, it's going to hinder both your ability to fall asleep, but also your quality because the body just has too much energy. If you do nothing and just lay around all day, it's going to be extremely hard for you to fall asleep as well. So
Yeah.
that's huge as well. Like you
Yeah.
said, keep it in the noon or in the morning, as close at least like 5 hours before, because pump blood can be pumped around, but also your body can start to work on getting out and repairing the tissue just after you've
Mm-hmm.
done some kind of either weightlifting or running or hard exercise. The body might be in the process of getting out of these muscles or joints and sorting it all out, right? Because it's not
Mm-hmm.
all of the time would you have hard physical exercise. That will hinder
Yeah.
your brain's ability as well to go and literally rejuvenate itself.
Yeah, so the one thing I will add here, just so that you're aware of it, I do train. So when I have like the regular trainings for acrobatics and things like that, I cannot, have them prior to 8 p.m. because
Yes.
that's when our sessions are. So at some point when we're gonna be having the physical activity episode, I really want us both to take to provide our take on it because you are a person who does your workouts in the morning or around the noon, and I am a person who does them around. So when I don't have the trainings, I work out around 5 or 6 p.m. And when I do have the trainings, I work out around 8 or 9 p.m. But I have created systems and mechanisms which allow me to still get quality sleep despite having to train late in the evening. And the other reason why I train in the afternoon is because, as I told you, I do 22-hour fast. So I cannot train in the morning because then I would deplete all my energy and I couldn't, sustain myself during the day. So for me, it's more important based on the routine I've developed for myself to actually stretch and do some warm up in the morning, but not to get into a physical exhaustion state because um, I only eat once a day or one and a half time a day. So I don't have a choice. I mean, I made myself not have a choice. So
And I want to
Yeah.
also get into fasting in another episode, not right now, because it's a whole different topic. Yes, it does extremely much benefit and it can kind of control your sleeping patterns and etc. and your quality of sleep as well. But fasting in
Yeah.
itself is a whole another topic. There's so many benefits,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
also
Of course.
right.
Of course.
So
of course, and the last 2 points I have
yes,
for the basics is just just the stress management,
Yes.
and basically we can just throw in at the same in this same topic the other one, which is mindfulness and relaxation.
Yes. Yes, that's the evening wind down journal, prayer,
Yeah.
reader stuff, right?
Yeah.
So being
Of
mindful
course.
and stress management as well. Wind down routines is incredibly beneficial for that as well. Getting away from the noise of the internet and the noise of the real world, oh sorry, the
Yeah.
fake world, and getting into your own state of mind will immensely
Yeah.
help with stress. And just boycotting all of the technology before going to bed will significantly
Yeah.
benefit your stress management state. And it's also a skill. Stress management is a skill. It's doing small
Yeah.
habits and systems and implementations where you formally would be stressed and try to mitigate it, try to delegate it, right? Dilute it. That as
Yeah.
well,
So what
stress
we
management
can,
is a huge one as well. We need to go over in another one.
Yeah, so we can also mention a very fundamental principle of biohacking, which is the closer to nature you can come, the better. In a sense where if you can think how before all this technological revolution and everything, how we functioned when we were living in the woods. So the closer that's what I mean with the closer to nature you get, and it's basically what we've been talking this whole time. So going up when the sun goes up, going down when the sun goes down. Eating proper foods, so not stimulating yourself with sugar and processed foods. Um, Basically all of those things. So your goal, your objective with biohacking in general, it doesn't matter sleep, nutrition, whatever, it should be to be as close to nature or your inherent natural cycles, processes as possible.
Yes. And in my example, I'm very fortunate. Like I have nature all around me. I live in absolutely nothing. But many people will
Mhm.
live in big cities and apartment buildings and in stores, right? And they most likely don't have the ability to do it. So I ground. I ground every single day just before breakfast. While I'm preparing my
Yeah.
breakfast, my breakfast is 1 or 2 p.m. Um, after my fast is gone. Like breakfast is another topic as well. Don't eat in the morning. Your productivity will literally decline, and don't
Yeah.
eat also in the
That's the
morning.
fasting part.
Yes, yes, exactly. But grounding and getting close to nature as well. Getting outside, getting some real air in your lungs, opening up the window, breathe some nice air,
Yeah. Yeah.
purified air, and like I said, go out, ground, go feel the nature, and go actually appreciate it. Go actually enjoy it for
Yeah.
stress management as well. Small things like just getting more quality and more sleep will manage your stress as well, right? Having good routines and habits will manage your stress as well. Yes.
Yeah. So after spending an hour and a half discussing the basics, let's just peek a little bit into the advanced things. Uh, so one thing so the things that I would like to discuss for the advanced things is more about personalization, and especially I just want to start with your experience with sleep tracking and sleep analysis.
Okay, so let me actually go ahead and pull it up here. So, my process with sleep tracking analysis has been, well, quite interesting because there's a lot of metrics that I didn't even know existed when I started tracking,
Yeah.
right? I knew the basics of deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep, and latency, etc. But let me pull up some of the
Yeah.
best days here. So I got one at 92 here, optimal. Total sleep, I got 8 hours and 40 minutes, 14 minutes. My sleep
Okay.
efficiency was at 95%. Restfulness was at optimal, almost a full. REM sleep was at 2 hours and 14%. Deep sleep was at 2 hours and 17 minutes. Latency was at 20 minutes. And then timing was optimal as well. We can
Okay.
also talk, well, about these stages, right? So we have these stages of sleep where we go into REM sleep and then deep sleep and then up to REM sleep again, and then we have these kind of cycles. But that's not what I want to go into today. But we have metrics like average oxygen saturation, which was at 95%. Then we got lowest heart rate and then average BPM, so beats per minute. We got HRV, which is a huge thing for overall health, pinnacle health. HRV is the, I actually can't remember what the entire metric is called, but it's basically the timing between the beats, like in between the heartbeats.
Yeah.
And the metric basically tells you how healthy your heart is, right? And the our rate
Yeah.
tracks as well. So my journey has been here. Let me try to pull up one of the first times I ever put it on, right? So we got May 6th this year. Total sleep was 6 hours and 12 minutes. Efficiency was 86%. We got fair restfulness. We got 24 minutes of REM sleep. And then we got actually 3 hours of deep sleep. I have no idea. But we got timing, pay attention. Like, my journey with it has been one, being aware that you can track and you can actually measure your sleep. Two, being aware what sleep is and knowing the foundations and fundamentals of what sleep is, like we have just covered. Three,
Yeah.
getting this tracking device and realizing how bad my sleep actually is. And then four,
Yeah.
start to slowly incorporate things into my habits, daily life, routines, which will try to shift this bad quality sleep into good sleep. Things I've
So I
been.
have a question.
Yes, go on.
I have a question. So sorry to interrupt. Just because you just mentioned this, so I want to just did you wear your Oura ring and track your sleep for the whole year?
No, I did from May 5 until until um, September 5. So that's what.
I just wanted to bring awareness to the fact, and we're gonna do a rough estimation that we spend basically one third of our life sleeping.
And then it better be good quality.
Yeah, and that's how important it is.
Absolutely. And humans cannot live without it. Like, there's been sleep
Yeah.
experiments, right, with people not being,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
forced to not sleep, and they have gone completely crazy. Hallucination,
Yeah.
images, literally starvation. They wouldn't eat. Mental swings, just in
Yeah.
extreme.
Insanity, basically.
Yes, yeah, yes,
And 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 we can. So one thing that you said were the stages of
yes,
sleep.
yes,
So let me just explain them as simply as I possibly can, because it's not there is a lot to it, but again, then again, there's not much to it. So first stage is the light sleep. It's like dipping your toes into the sleep pool where your body just starts to relax and you can easily be woken up. It's usually pretty short, only lasting like a few minutes. Then the second stage is deeper sleep, where you are, sort of getting into the pool and your body slows down more, your heart rate and the beating gets slower, your muscles relax, and this stage should last longer. Again, it's whether it's optimal or not, but it's where you spend most of your sleep time. Then the next stage is, or stage three is deep sleep, where you can imagine it as you're now underwater in the sleep pool. This is a very deep sleep where it's hard to wake you up. Your body is doing important repair work during this stage, so like healing the muscles and tissues and helping you grow. And as you can see, the first two stages, we're not even talking yet about repairing and things like that. So that's why quality sleep is important.
yes,
And then the fourth stage is the REM sleep, or the rapid eye movement sleep, where it feels like you're floating on your back in the pool, having a vivid dream. Your brain is very active. It almost feels like you are awake. And this is where most of the dreaming happens. And it's called rapid eye movement because your eyes move rapidly under your eyelids, but the rest of your body is supremely relaxed, almost paralyzed, we could say, so that you don't act out on your dreams. And those are the four stages that people should be aware of without going too much into them.
And then it goes in stages. So a stage can vary from 2.5 to 3.5 hours, and then you have 2 to 3 stages like these each night.
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay, so that would be the first thing that we discussed. So the sleep tracking and just everything around that. So the second advanced, quote unquote advanced, that is, thing is one thing that we have touched on, but we didn't really mention, and that is when it comes to the sleep environment, and I am pointing to the temperature of the room and of everything, so the how heavy your bedding is and things like that, and to the quality of air and sleep environment. So we have mentioned the basics, but the more advanced, quote unquote advanced things is like if you can precisely control the body temperature and the room temperature, you can affect sleep quality like a lot. And some people are using temperature regulating mattresses um, and things like that. Like, again, it's not necessary, but it is possible to go and complicate things to a further degree. But just one of the things that you said is you live in nature, but then there are people who are inside of cities like myself, right? I still have access to um, like forest, and but it's far, right? I have to actually go there, right? So what I have done for myself, I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 plants in my room. So I have created a room in which I have a lot of natural organisms because the sheer presence of plants is creating an atmosphere and an ecosystem because as we all know plants turn the air that is yeah CO2 into oxygen, and not only that, but they also create an aura, a presence, an essence inside of the room, which allows, the whole sort of environment to feel more natural and to be more in tune with nature, even though you don't have it like at the in your immediate environment.
And that's some of the things which is the deeper levels, right? So it's things like plans in your room, it's things like personalized routines and schedules, it's things like um it could be I just lost it. What did I lose? Turning on redder or more orange LED light when winding down can stimulate
Yeah,
serotonin, etc. Small diffusers of scents of essential oils. It can be your water intake. It can be what kind of nutrients. Like that's the
yeah,
deeper part of things. But I think that people will be very grateful for 1 hour and 40 minutes of just straight knowledge. So I think that we want to take our thoughts around this and just dig deeper in another episode of personalized the last 20%.
Environment. Yeah, 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 sure. But again, just to throw it out there, right? When it comes to the quote unquote, and I have to say quote unquote because it's not really advanced and it's just starting to really optimize things, which is the point. So again, if you're like me, who is more in a capital city, I have a air purifier, so my Even if it's like, I don't know, too cold or there's really a bad reading of the air quality outside, I can have my air purifier turned on, which has the UV light, it ionizes the air, yada yada yada. And of course, it humidifies or dehumidifies, and it keeps a proper humidity. Um, so that is something that helps me to sustain a good room environment, right?
Yes.
Um, and it's important because we have not mentioned this, but we'll have a separate discussion on it. There are only three ways in which you can intake energy to your physical existence. And
Yes.
the first one is air, the thing that you breathe.
Yes.
And then there are the obvious ones, or then there is the obvious one, which is diet and hydration, so
Yes.
food and drinks.
Mhm.
And then the third one is sun.
Yes.
Those are the only three ways in which you can input energy into yourself.
Yes.
There is no other way to put um, physical energy and create a reservoir of energy other than air, food, and sun. Now, the sun part can't really be controlled as much as air and food because number one, if you have plants, air purifiers, yada yada yada, you can control air and diet. You obviously can control. I mean,
Yes.
some people can't control themselves, but my point is, it's something that is in your control. What kind of food you eat and things like that, and those are the things that are also going to influence, you know, your body repair system and the quality of your general existence, right?
Absolutely. But it's those small things, right? Like plants, purifiers, oils,
Mm-hmm.
hydration, as well as sunlight, and etc., which takes it to a whole another level, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, the fundamentals, the foundation, and the basics, if you can dial in those, if you can really just dial in those, and then see how much it changes, then afterwards you can personalize it all because
Mm-hmm.
plans might not be the best thing for everybody. It might be good for the like overall people health, right? But some people might be allergic to it, to plants. Some people might be allergic
I
to
mean, yeah, but
some
you
people.
can't be allergic to all plants, so
Yes.
you just need to figure out what works for
Yes.
you.
It's
And
still personalizing it.
yeah, it's personalizing it, right? And one thing that we actually, for some reason, did not yet touch on is actually noise control. So, like, actually, yeah, actually, having a so some people sleep with the noise canceling sort of devices or things like that, but I will take a different approach and say that it's not necessarily not having any input because some people are living in complexes where there's constantly people making noise, and if you're especially in like college dorm rooms or things like that, there's always someone making sound. So the solution I figured out for that, because the reason why I had to figure it out is because my neighbors went and they started renovating their house. So the workers were starting at 6 a.m. and didn't want to wake up at that point yet.
Yes.
So things like that can be dialed out via white noise, brown noise, or pink noise. So having something like, or for those who are living close enough to sea or um, forest, you can just have a natural white noise, which is created by wind or waves breaking onto the shore. But for me, it was just setting up a very good surround sound system in my room so that I can um, tune out the noise with the white noise. So it feels after a while, it feels as if there is absolute quiet because white noise does simulate silence, even though it is an input. At least from my perspective, that's how I would explain it.
Yes, yes. But again, there's thousands of small things. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But again, there's thousands of small things, right? And this the process of getting into the last 20%, etc. Um,
Yeah.
but I think we have covered a wide variety of why it's so important, how detrimental it can be to not get quality sleep, how long
Yeah.
you schedule, the basics, the foundations, also some of the smaller, more personalized things that people can get into. So, if these people should take one single thing and go with that and go implement it today, what would you say would be?
Yeah.
Uh, Hmm, that's a good question because there are allow me to say three things, right? Not one, because there are the things that we talked about in the beginning. So, a consistent um, sleep schedule. So that's of paramount importance. Then B would be Jesus, probably the light exposure thing where I really encourage people to um, get a lot of sunlight in the morning as soon as they wake up, and then limit the white light and bright light in the evening so that their body can start to shut down. So, like I said, I created for myself a sunset simulator with the LEDs where my room gets orangey and reddish. um, and of course, I wear the anti blue light glasses and I don't do electronics in the evening. And then the third thing, oh Jesus, there's so much. The third thing I would say for me would be probably substances. So weed, alcohol, and caffeine. So even though I have no experience with alcohol because I've never consumed any, I do have experience with weed and caffeine, and I do like I've shared my take. It is absurd how disrupting they are to sleep. So figure those three things out, and I think that you're already gonna be at 60% of everything that you need to uh, sort of configure. Now, what would be your three?
Yes, it will. Yes, okay. So I'll get you three as well. As well, my first one would be dial in your schedule. Find out your schedule and
Yeah.
dial it in. Right? It's so important to get a consistent schedule from day to day to day. Consistency compounds. Consistency. If you hold that onto that thing, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
consistently every single day for a long period of time, that's going to be a massive beneficial benefiter as well. But it's also the
Yeah.
fact of in that sense of having your consistent schedule, you should try to tweak things because everyone's circadian rhythm is a little bit different and everyone's
Yeah.
internal mechanisms is a little bit different, right? That's the first thing.
And also the external factors like job and trainings and things like that.
Absolutely. The second thing, just like yours, would be energy input. So it would be things like when do you eat, what do you eat, nutrition, how good quality is your water, how much water do you drink, when do you drink it. It will be
Yeah.
energy, alcohol depletion. Stop drinking alcohol, and at least limit any other kind of substance. Also caffeine as well, and
Yeah.
energy drinks, stupid soda drinks with high amounts of sugar in it. Stop drinking it at least
Yeah.
at night.
Or just in general, just don't drink and not none of those things. Like this, yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that it's so funny to me because I never like I was always that one boring kid where I went to someone's birthday party and their mom would be like, "Do I give you a Fanta, Coca-Cola?" And I'm like, "Can I please get a glass of water?" And they were like, oh, but you can't drink water. You're at a birthday party. And I'm like, I don't care. I want to drink water. And I don't get what's wrong with people that they need those sugary drinks. They're not even tasting good. Sure, I'm gonna agree that they hit a dopamine sort of spike, but come on, are you that big of a loser that you need to feed yourself of that cheap of a dopamine? Just drink water.
And I think once people actually figure out that water is the life source of a human, and
Yes.
that these other drinks are just modified things with sugary syrup, um, chemicals in them. I think once people
Yeah.
figure out that water is the only thing that you will ever need, and that anything other than that is trivial, like maybe coconut water and stuff like that is good, but water,
I mean, yeah, yeah, of course, and herbal teas and juices like from grapefruit.
right? That's just water
Yeah.
blended with other
Exactly.
ingredients from nature. Yes,
But we are 70% water, right? So
that's it. People don't get to see that. They just want the quick thing. Yes. One, schedule. Two, every single input you put into your body. And three would be, I would actually say, just the mental thing around it. You should be able to
Of course.
see it from the big perspective of, okay, how do I get much more knowledge of this? What knowledge do I need to seek? And then how can I implement it? Then have the right mentality. Think that you can learn and think that you can get better and think that you can implement and all of this stuff. So the big hitters, schedule, consistency, input, water, nutrition, timing, fasting, energy drinks, caffeine,
Yeah.
substances, etc. And then
Yeah.
have the mentality of you can do it, right? You just need to seek out the right information.
yeah, yeah, that would be probably, let's say that was 80% of everything we can, even though this is the point I was trying to make. Even though we discussed like 80% of everything that is important, the 20% left is infinitely big, because the personalization part and how it connects to everything else, it's like the 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 80% we discussed is basically the most important parts and everything, and then the 20% is infinite. So yeah, we could go forever. So
Yeah, we've already gone 1 hour
for
and
2 hours.
30 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So there is one more thing that you've mentioned at the very beginning, and I just wrote it down that I have to mention it, and that is how modern society, instead of this is when we were talking about quality sleep importance and everything, so at the very beginning, and I wanted to say how modern society treats things as normal even though they're not,
Yes, they have to look
because
good.
it's like, yeah, it's because what happened is people started to experience like poorer and poorer average of their quality, and instead of them being like, okay, we need to fix that, what society did, and this is the idiocracy we live in, they lowered the baseline. They were like, okay, so usually we did a better, but everyone is average, this is the sheep mindset. This is the thing that pisses me off, and it is people, instead of demanding more from themselves, understanding that they are not doing enough, they just say, ah, everyone else is lower, everyone else has lowered their standards, everyone else has lowered what it means to be at the baseline. So let me just do it as well, right? Because what is normal? Normal is the average, right?
That's big. Societal norms, you have to break out of them. Definitely, you have to say, well, if you do just the slightest research, it's not normal. It's just because people are like the human creatures are sheep. They have the sheep mentality, and it is instilled in them. But then you have to say, well, do you want to be below average just by living around these people? Do you want to be so normal that you're not even healthy as a personal human? Then you have to say no, or some may even say yes. Just lazy.
I know, but the problem is, it's that like, people don't get it. Okay, people don't get it. For you to become above average, it never in history of humanity, it took so little to be above average. Because everybody's obese, everybody has this, everybody's chronic illness, everybody's depressed. You don't get it how little it takes for you to be supreme, which is a very, very wide and floppy definition. But I just want people to understand that if they can just get the basics down, they will be supremely above average.
And that's everything Anomaly Incubator is about, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
thank you for the talk. Um, it's been great as always. I think people will be immensely, hopefully grateful for this. Maybe start to implement some of these things, and they will have their eyes open to what sleep is and why it is so
yeah,
crucial. So
yes,
among these 2 hours, um, I hope people have expanded their minds. I hope people have taken some notes. I hope people will start to do their wind down to routine and start ordering their blue light blockers and start getting into the habit of getting quality sleep. So it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Yeah, and thank you for being here as always. I am so grateful that we have this mission to just spill out what we've learned, which can benefit to the collective. And the whole purpose, the sheer reason we do this is because we have experienced what it means to have problems, to be average, to do those things. And then we also experience how easy it is to become more, how easy it is to become, like, people are dreaming that it will take them their whole lifetime to reach, quote unquote, the top 10% of society, but they don't get it that so there is this, and again, I'm just prolonging the conversation, but there is this stupid calculator called female delusion calculator, right? Which you basically input a few variables, and it basically calculates how likely a woman is to find that sort of a man, right? And I always had like this goal that I would get to top 1%, or rather, after seeing this, my goal was to get into top 0.001%, and I think I will still have to raise that. But my point with all of this is, without me even realizing it, when I first entered my parameters in the female delusion calculator, I was already in the top 4%. And I was like, what the fuck? I haven't even started. And on a daily basis, I have this low self esteem of how big of a piece of a uselessness I am. And then I just realized that I'm already better than most people without even starting. So I really hope that people can understand that that is motivation for you, that that is to understand how easy it is for you to become supreme.
Absolutely lovely. It's been an absolutely great, phenomenal, all around
yeah.
knowledgeable situation and conversation. Man, I thank you, and I hope people are going to have a great time watching this.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that will be it for today. I think we spit some or spilled some sauce over the sleep.